Thursday. Happy January 18th, 18 days into the new year. What are you all thinking? What are you thinking? New year. It's been a little rocky. Has it been smooth? Whatever it is, I know it's good. Mine's been a little crazy, and I'm okay. I'm okay with it because I know one thing is true. Everything is working together for my good. Brandon, what's up, man? Good to see you, brother. Everything is working together for my good. So I want to tell you a little bit about rythmia really quickly, and then get into the talk. Have you talked with God lately? Now, don't be thinking I'm cray-cray, like, okay, he thinks he's talking with God. No. Well, yes, I am cray-cray. But hey, Vicky, hey, Diego, hey, D, welcome everybody. So a little bit about rythmia, and then we're going to talk about talking with God. So, wow. The first 2 weeks at rythmia, and this is our third week of the year, and every week it's amazing. Every week is amazing that I get to walk this path with people. I've never participated with such an amazing group of people. In other words, not only the people that are coming Brendan says he's riding the roller coaster of 2024. Keep your hands in the air. Woo! Right on, man. It is a roller coaster. So I've never worked, and Brendan used to work at Rythmia, and he knows I've never worked with a group of people more dedicated to service than the group of people that work at Rythmia. Hey, Tom. Hey, D. I've never met more people, other people I've never worked for an organization where people are genuinely focused on being of service in such a powerful way. And I know as one of those people that it's an honor, and it's about our transformation. A long time ago, I realized that the only thing that really excited me was my own spiritual growth and development. Like, that's all I wanted to do. And then to walk that path with others. That's like the next step of expansion. And why? Because we create a shift in the world when we do. And Rythmia and the people that are coming there, the amazingly courageous souls that come there to examine themselves, leave there with a shift in perception that is life-changing. And people come, it was their last chance. People come feeling like they're stuck. People come feeling like they don't have a life purpose. People come feeling like life just isn't for them. And they leave feeling empowered and feeling ready to take on what they've always known they were there to do. So that's what's happening at Rythmia every week. People are unhooking from the past, stepping into their most authentic self, and then from there walking boldly into a life that they knew that they've always been meant to live. Okay, so that's Rythmia. Now, talking to God. I want to, talk to you about having an honest conversation with the divine. Hey, Patty, honest conversation with God. There's a great book by Neil Donald Walsh, a series of books called Conversations with God. And, we have this silent partner that's with us all the time. And it's not just your ego that, that's what, am I talking to God, or am I talking to my ego? Is that my ego? What is it? Well, there is the ego, but then there is the mind of God. And in my own personal experience, I've found that when I have an honest conversation with God, which is me, last week's Facebook Live was, I am God. I am God. Everything is God. There's no outside of God. I am 100% God, and God is everything that I am. Hey, what's up, my friends down in Samara from Plug-in Mind? Great to see you guys. Nico and Karina. I am 100% God. God is everything that I am, and I am a part of it. You are 100% God. And Ram Dass says you're God in drag, right? So talking to God is talking to your higher self. There's one mind. So when I've done this process, it's been in times, I pray daily, but there have been other times it's more visceral, when I'm in times of crisis, when things aren't going the way that I would want them to go. Then I've had real conversations with God. I remember one time I went out to the beach, and I was going through a really hard time. It was the beginning of this time last year. And some dear friends who I had worked with for many years, we had a big misunderstanding. And I felt very hurt by some of the things that they accused me of, and they felt very hurt by some of the things that I said to them, right? So we were both feeling hurt, and we weren't talking, and it felt so rejected, and I was in such a bad way. And I went out to the beach, and it was at low tide, and there's some tide pools at the beach here, where just big pools of water, you can actually get in them, and the tide's way out. It's like little pools. And I got in, and there were some people on the beach, so I didn't want to seem like a crazy person. So I started talking to God, and then I started getting angry. I really started letting out everything that was inside of me. And I started yelling. And when I started yelling, I put my face in the water, and I was just yelling into the water. Everything. Like, what the fuck, God? What the fuck? Like, I can't believe this. And I just started really letting go. It was a purge of all my emotions. This is coming from a friend of mine, Josh Darnell, who's having an amazing class right now. And he's talking about this purge process. And I did this last year in a conversation with him, and now he's talking about it in the class. And it's something that I've incorporated into my practice, because I got so emotional. I was crying and yelling and angry and sad, and just was honest about everything that I was feeling. So often in the spiritual world, we bypass what's going on because we jump right to everything is working together for my good. God is all there is. That's all true. That's all true. And our emotional body is our access to the spiritual body, and it's our block to the spiritual body when we're stuck in our emotions and we're not honest about them. So honesty is a key here in your conversation with God. So I went out and I did this process, and I yelled and I screamed and I cried. It was about an hour and a half. I was just out there, and I emptied myself of everything. This is what we do in plant medicine ceremony too. Empty ourselves. We're literally purging. But this is an emotional purge. And the impact that it had on me was that I was able to then begin to receive my medicine, to receive some truth from God. And let me remind you that the innermost God and the uppermost God are the same God. This is ancient wisdom. Innermost God and the uppermost God are the same God. So how am I communicating? Who am I communicating with? Well, in an old way of praying, I'm praying to something. I'm praying to something outside of me. But in the metaphysical, new thought, ageless wisdom way of praying, I'm not praying to anything. I'm praying from an awareness that I'm already one with it. So when I'm having a conversation with God, I'm having a conversation from the awareness that I'm already one with that presence. And this concept comes from the idea of a divine mind, right? That there's one mind, one life, one body, one source. All of life is connected. All of life is one. Life is one with life. It's a unity consciousness. We must have this unity consciousness. And so this concept is, allows for a deeper, more authentic conversation with God, because you don't have to hide anything from God, because you are God. So the one mind, you're connected to it. And the only thing that separates us from it is our sense, our beliefs, our thoughts, our programs in our mind. And so the purge, having this honest conversation, is allowing us, you don't have to hide anything, because God already knows, because it is you. One source. It's like the fingers of the hand. They're connected. They can't be separate, So this power, there's a power in this spiritual purge. And this concept is an old concept of pouring out the cup. It comes from many different traditions. And it's akin to a mental or emotional purge. And it's about releasing pent-up emotions and acknowledging our hidden fears and confronting these inner truths to achieve mental clarity and emotional healing, right? We have to release these pent up emotions. We can't just bypass them. That's spiritual bypass. And it relates to many ancient traditions where emptying yourself spiritually makes room for divine grace. So Buddhists, for example, have the Buddhist thought says, empty your cup so that it may be filled, become devoid to gain totality. And this is about achieving a emptiness, right? From the Buddhist experience, emptiness is the way that we achieve spiritual enlightenment. And the process of emptying one's cup is cathartic and leads to an emotional release and healing, which in turn can open new pathways for spiritual growth and exploration and enlightenment. So the biggest thing is embracing all of your emotions. There's no bad part. There's no bad emotion, and you're not hiding anything from the divine. So, we have to get into the mud in order to grow. The lotus flower grows from the mud, right? The seed needs the darkness in order to grow. We have to get into the dark places, into the muddy places, into the not so nice places for that beauty to emerge from within us. And so I want to ask you guys, like, do you have any personal experiences of transformation where you've had this? Has anyone out there done this? Put it in the chat. Has anyone out there had a open, honest conversation with God? Or have you ever struggled with feelings, feeling like you're not heard or understood in some way? And how did you navigate feeling like God wasn't hearing you? How did you do it? Please, I want to see some comments. Have you ever received guidance or answers from having an honest conversation with God? I'd love to know this. In your moments of loneliness or hardship, have you received comfort from talking to God? Has anyone done this? Let me know. I ain't just talking to myself now. Come on, give me some respect. give me a little something. Because I want to know what if you guys have had this experience. I've truly experienced this and this release, and then was filled with something, and it took some time. It wasn't like I did it and then Angela says, yes, tell me, Angela, tell me about your experience. It took weeks and months for the answers to come, but I had to empty myself first. It was really powerful. So, okay. Okay, here we go. Dee says she's listening for guidance and answers via a song, a podcast, or a book that she's drawn to. That's beautiful. Dee. Oracles, right? They're oracles. Angela says break down to break through. Sometimes we have to be broken down so that we can empty ourselves fully, so that we can then receive something. We can't receive if we're too full, overflowing with our own ego, with our own thoughts, with our own emotions, our own stories of victimhood, our own stories of something happening to us, right? We have to acknowledge this, right? If we're, honesty is the only way through this. We have to be honest. We have to first be honest with ourselves. We can't just bypass it. There's a story. Angela says she cried and released, and then signs in nature were oracles for her. Yes, beautiful, Angela. Thank you. Eric says he definitely received guidance. I'm gonna put these up. For not in Instagram, you're not seeing it, but in Facebook and YouTube, you're seeing it. Angela, she needed to yell, cry, and release, and then the signs of the oracle. Eric says definitely received guidance, understanding, and love from God through prayer and meditation, but also in all the affairs I'm open and aware. And Angela says, always happening for us. It's hard. It's a hard concept to accept, right? So beautiful. Thank you guys for sharing. So, we have to acknowledge ourselves. We have to acknowledge where we're at first before we can be full, before we can be filled again. Acknowledging where we're at is this purge process. And there's a story of a neuropsychologist that was working with a group of Tibetan Buddhists. And he was saying that the Tibetan Buddhists had this high out picturing of type 2 diabetes. And oh wait, we're getting a lot more responses. Hold on. Tom says, my second time in the hospital for life-threatening surgeries, I hit a wall. My surgeon had just left the room after telling me to make any important phone calls before the surgery because it was serious. Tom, what happened, Tom? Was that moment? Like, tell me what happened and how you. He says, I started having a very direct talk with myself. Beautiful. What was the result? Over here, D says, the most amazing message from God I received was awareness that the most difficult experiences are the biggest gifts. There's a gift in every shadow and a shadow in every gift. Beautiful. And but we have to get there, right? We have to get there. And so this story about the Tibetan monks having type 2 diabetes is a great example of this, because the Tibetan monks, why do they have type 2 diabetes? They eat vegan food, they're praying every day, they're meditating. Where's diabetes coming from? Well, one of their practices, Ali, okay, I'm going to get to that really quick. One of their practices, the Tibetan Buddhist monks' practices, was called loving kindness, wishing well for their enemies. And their enemies were the Chinese. And so they would be angry at all the stuff that, that has happened in the history of Chinese-Tibetan, relationships. And they would go right from this anger to loving kindness, wishing well. Well, that requires a deep release of endorphins, and endorphins, to calm the body down from anger to peace. And this deep release of endorphins, metabolize as glucose in the body and outpicture as type 2 diabetes. So what this neuropsychologist suggested that the monks do is first acknowledge their anger, like be with their anger, be angry. And then from the anger, go step down to righteous indignation. That like, this isn't right. It's not right what happened. It wasn't right what happened with me and those people. It wasn't right what the Tibetans did or what the Chinese did to them. It's not right. Right. So you get righteous about it. Like, you can step down from just anger to being like, this isn't cool. And then from there, you can step into acceptance and loving kindness. But you first have to empty this cup. Tom says that after he started having this conversation with himself, he started yelling at himself, and all of a sudden he had a warm feeling, and somehow he knew all would be well. This is it, brother. Like, having that honest conversation. And Ali says it definitely helps for her, talking to God and crying afterwards. A really good feeling of release, but sometimes I think maybe it would be against being grateful and thankful. That's the thing right there, Ali, because sometimes we think, I can't be but God knows. God knows. That's why we can be honest. That's why we can just speak our truth, because the divine mind is my mind. My mind is a divine mind. There's no hiding anything. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like Tom, having that direct conversation and starting to yell at himself and express that anger, like those Tibetan monks, being angry and letting that anger, and then letting it, being with it, and then stepping down from anger to righteous indignation. And from righteous indignation, I love this. Solar says, alchemizing sacred rage. Yes. Alchemizing, what is alchemy but the transmutation of heavier metal to gold, from heavier leaden thoughts of separation, not enoughness, and fear and lack and worry, to a divine realization of the golden thoughts of oneness. But we can't reach that oneness if we're being blocked by our own emotional shit. So the purge is coming out. The purge is letting all this stuff out, having an honest reckoning with our own emotional thoughts and issues, so that we come to, once we empty it out, then we can receive. So, in essence, the act of pouring out one's cup, whether it's viewed through Buddhism or psychology, it's fundamentally about creating space, whether it be mental, emotional, or spiritual. And there, we create space for those potential insights and transformation and even divine grace. But we can't receive it when we're full to overflowing with our own shit. So we got to purge that out. Have a real conversation with God. I want to encourage you to do this, to go to a place where you can speak honestly with the divine. And if you're doing it right, you're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to scream. You're going to yell. And once you empty yourself, then wait in the coming hours, weeks, and months for the truth to emerge. Once you have emptied yourself, you will receive divine grace. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And for all of those of you that are tuning in after, I so appreciate this opportunity to walk this path with you. Walk the path and talk to God. Just let God know everything that you're going through. Let it out. Let it be alchemized by the divine. As we acknowledge just exactly where we are and are truthful, transformation, insight, and revelation occurs. Many blessings, peace, 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 and richest blessings.